125 years of Elon. What is it that's going to make 2013 to 2014 stick out?
Well, the 125th anniversary is an important marker for a university. It's a time to look back and a time to look forward. There are going to be some special events on campus this year in recognition of the 125th. We're going to dedicate the new Martin Alumni Center. We're going to plant 125 trees in various parts of campus. I'm looking forward to the release of Professor George Troxler's book in March for Founders Day, a new wonderful history of Elon that's richly illustrated with a lot of historical photographs. Everybody who loves Elon is going to want to have a copy of this book. So there are some really great opportunities to just stop and think about where we've come from and to be reminded of the Elon story, which is, I think, a miraculous story. You know, this institution could have been counted out many times along the way, but has always persevered and particularly in the modern age has really thrived. And it's a good time for us to reflect on where we've come from and where we want to go. And as I always say, 125 years is not a long time. It sounds like a big number, but when you think about other institutions of higher education in the United States, we're relatively young. And so I think we've got to keep that in mind and remember that we're still, as a university, in the process of becoming who we're going to be.
Now, you had a busy summer actually appearing in front of the North Carolina General Assembly. Can you tell me a little bit about those talks?
Yeah, we had a tough summer in North Carolina, and there were a lot of ideas floated in the legislature. We knew going into this summer that we were going to have a tough summer with regard to potentially losing our sales tax exemption on the goods and services that the university provides, and other issues as well that we had to push back on. There were issues related to allowing guns on college campuses and so forth that we were very concerned about and wanted to weigh into. Another one that had a lot of potential consequences for the university was the prospect of the elimination of the charitable gift deduction for donors who make gifts to the university. And I know that many donors would continue to make gifts anyway, but you're removing a disincentive for people to be philanthropic if that legislation had passed. So we had a lot of work to do in trying to position the university to come out of this with as little damage done as possible, and I think we were pretty successful. We had to, under the leadership of Hope Williams, who's the president of the North Carolina Independent Colleges and Universities Group, we banded together with other nonprofits, hospices and hospitals and the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and churches to try to make our case to legislators that this was bad public policy and it was going to hurt in the long run, and we prevailed. That's not to say that we're out of the woods, and we're going to have to continue to be vigilant with what's going on in the North Carolina legislature to try to protect students and families from other kinds of adverse events. One of the things that students will be hearing more about this year is that there will be certain things that will be taxed going forward that weren't previously, including ticket sales on live events like the Night of the Phoenix or the ragtime performance in music theater, those kinds of things. And there will be issues with regard to student meal plans and taxations that we'll be sorting through over the course of the coming weeks and months, and there'll be communications later this fall about that. But overall, I'd say 80 to 90% of what we were aiming to protect the university on, we were successful in doing so.
Now, if you just take a drive down Haggard Avenue or Williamson Avenue, you'll see signs that say no weapons on campus. Is this something that concerns you?
Well, that has always been our policy. We have had no weapons on campus policy, as you know, for a long time, and We had a very serious incident you might remember last fall where a non-student came to campus with a weapon in the back of her car, and it was plainly visible. The officer was clearly able to make an arrest and perhaps prevent a tragic situation because of that policy. We have posted no weapon signs all over campus to essentially opt out of what I understand to be a change in the law that would allow students to bring weapons to campus, but individual private colleges and universities have an option to opt out, and we have done that.
Has Governor McCrory impacted Elon University and private universities in North Carolina for the better, would you say?
I would say the last 2 years, which span the final year of Governor Perdue's administration and the first year of Governor McCrory's administration, in my 15 years of Elon, have been the two toughest years with regard to state government. 2 years ago, we lost the North Carolina Legislative Tuition Grant Program, which was an important piece of the financial aid puzzle for North Carolina families. And then this year we face this whole series of threats with regard to tax reform. So these have been two very challenging years under two different administrations.
One more major change happening affects Elon's Masters of Education program. Of course, now graduates won't have the guaranteed paid increase. Is there value still in Elon's Master of Education degree?
Well, I think there is. And I would predict that will be reversed at some point in time. I think it's exactly the wrong message to give to teachers. And that is, I hope, a law that will not stand. You want to continue to invest in the professional development of teachers. They're doing the most important work imaginable in the world, and for very low pay. And that I think was, in my personal opinion, is bad public policy.
You seem very calm, and there have been a lot of changes that have happened. What's the one thing that keeps you up at night? What is the thing in the back of your mind that concerns you?
Well, there are a lot of things, and it varies according to the issue of the year or the issue of the month or what have you. The big thing that we're giving a lot of thought to these days, and I opened up my address to faculty and staff this year thinking about the changing business model for higher education. And I think there are two forces out there that are converging that are going to present many institutions of higher education with very big challenges. I think Elon is exceptionally well positioned to negotiate these challenges, but we have a lot of thinking and preparing and planning to do. The forces are cost and affordability. We've just hit the $40,000 a year mark. We're still a value compared to many of our private competitors, peer institutions. $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 less expensive, but still $40,000 a year is a lot of money. And the other is thinking about young people of your generation and even younger students, so-called digital natives, and how your ideas about how, when, and where learning takes place and how that will continue to change is another important force that we've got to be thinking about. Our summer school has moved largely to an online experience. We offered 44 online classes at Elon last summer. And as I said to the faculty and staff at the opening of school this year, even if student enrollment patterns change 5 or 10%, that has very big budget implications for the university. So it's not that I'm lying awake at night worrying about these problems, but they are ever present on our mind. And make no mistake about it, I think these changes are going to affect many struggling private institutions very adversely, and we will see some that will not will not be part of the landscape in the future, in my judgment. But I think Elon has so many assets going for us. We're in such a strong position. We've got a terrific faculty and staff. We have a national enrollment body. I don't know how many, if you've noticed how many more students are from California studying here, increasingly looking internationally, strong enrollment in the Northeast and new markets in Texas and St. Louis and Colorado and so forth. Another asset we've got going for us is that we're just an exceptionally innovative place. And I think that if any institution is good at reading the tea leaves and figuring out, all right, how are we going to respond to these big challenges out there, I think we'll do a good job at it.
Now I'm going to ask you to read the tea leaves for me. What are the next 10 years going to look like?
I think certainly I can tell you I think the next 7 years are going to be defined by finishing the Elon Commitment Strategic Plan. And those goals are very big, and we're very transparent about what they are. You're going to continue to see the residential campus evolve in very powerful ways on the campus. And I think next year when the global neighborhood opens up, that will be a big ta-da. But we've seen, already steps in that direction with colonnades and the station at Mill Point. We have 200 more students in residence on campus this year than we did last year. Next year we'll have 600 more because these are net new beds being added to campus, and that's going to make the campus feel different. So this residential campus initiative, I think, is gigantically important to our future. In general, I believe that the more residential a campus is, the better the quality of the institution. I'm really excited about the emphasis that we announced this fall, which again has been a long-standing part of the strategic plan, to put more resources behind need-based financial aid for global study so that we can try to nudge more of the 28% that are not participating in study abroad, who might be separated from that goal because of financial means, to do that. So there's so many initiatives like that in the strategic plan. I think if you're familiar with the Elon commitment and you're familiar with Elon's history of planning, we do a pretty good job of doing what we say we're going to do. And I think you'll see the Elon commitment plan come to life and fruition successfully. There are some big challenges in there. We finished our fundraising for the new Admissions Welcome Center, so you're going to see a beautiful new quadrangle develop in the center of campus beginning this fall and finish probably in January 2015. We have begun our fundraising efforts for the new School of Communications complex, and that is going to dramatically change the historic quadrangle that surrounds Under the Oaks, where we have commencement and convocation. So the physical landscape of the campus will continue to change. And then we've got big building projects towards the latter part of the strategic plan that will undoubtedly be important parts of the next fundraising campaign for the university, including expansion of science and eventually a convocation center.
Now, 10 years down the road with all these changes, is Elon still going to be an affordable school? Will an average middle-class student be able to attend Elon University?
I hope so. We have to maintain our commitment, though, to making sure that endowment building, and particularly endowment for need-based aid, remains our #1 priority in fundraising. The last campaign that we completed a couple of years ago, the Ever Elon campaign, was really the first campaign in Elon's history that was principally endowment-focused and scholarship-focused. And that needs to remain the principal emphasis, in my personal judgment, of every campaign going forward. And I think we're doing well. And I think the fact that we've seen our multicultural enrollment at Elon this year hit an all-time high of 17% speaks to the fact that programs like the Watson program and the Odyssey program that provide first-generation college students an opportunity to come here speak to this strategy as working. But you can't take your eye off financial aid as the #1 fundraising priority for Elon.
What advice would you give to the class of 2017?
I gave it to them in spades on move-in or on a move-in weekend at New Student Convocation, and I would say it's all about taking every advantage of this incredible opportunity before you here. It's easy to get sidetracked in college, and my goodness, what opportunities you have to explore the world and to interact with an incredible faculty and staff, to take advantage of 4 years in a way that you can transform your life and formulate a plan for yourself to go out in the world and just do anything you want to, anything imaginable. So don't limit yourself have very high aspirations for yourself and take advantage of every resource this campus has to offer.
Now, what about my class, the class of 2014, people preparing to enter the real world or graduate school? What advice do you have?
Aim high, follow your dream, take a risk. You're 22 years old. There's a lot of time to pick yourself up if you're not successful, so don't settle too quickly. I am so impressed with what our students are doing out there in the world and how hard they're working. And I look at many of the communications graduates, for instance, who are out in LA and who have a gig that's paying the bill, but then they're doing this something else on the side that is their creative passion, and highly entrepreneurial people. And I just think, wow, this is a very hard-working generation of young people that's going to be very, very successful. But get out there and compete, and you'll be successful. I think Elon graduates can compete with the best of anybody, and you're going to live to be 90 years old or more. You have a long life ahead of you, and your 20s is a really good time to try something unexpected, new, different, take some risks, pursue some challenges. Maybe don't jump into a career right away. We see students do Teach for America or Peace Corps or do a Fulbright. This is a great time in your life to fit all those kinds of things into.
Last question. When everything's said and done, how do you want to be remembered at Elon? What do you want your legacy to be?
Wow. Well, I'm not planning on dying, God willing, and it's way too early, I think, to be thinking about legacy. And I think that's ultimately something that other people will decide. But I guess I would say two things. One of which is focusing on academic excellence at Elon has always been a priority of mine. And we've built, in my almost 15 years here, I think we've continued to build a marvelous faculty and staff, which are the most important resource for students. And the academic quality of the university, as evidenced by the accreditations that the professional schools have achieved, and the Phi Beta Kappa recognition, and the awards that our students are winning at the highest level, all speak to a concerted university-wide effort to really bring Elon into the first tier of institutions nationally on an academic basis. So that would be one thing. And the other is a commitment that I feel very deeply about Elon being a place that is accessible to students whose parents can't pay the full cost of tuition and attendance here. That's why we have a priority on our new Center for Access and Success this year, which brings together the Elon Academy, a program very dear to my heart, and the Watson and Odyssey programs. These are opportunities for Elon to make very smart bets on great young people who are ambitious and smart and are going to make their mark in the world, I guarantee it, and do incredible things. But we can only bring them here because we have big scholarship opportunities. And so I hope another piece would be our growing emphasis on making sure that we can always be that place that has our gates open to those kinds of special young people.
President Lambert, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us, and best wishes in this new school year.
Thank you, Joe. Always a pleasure to talk with you.